for someone in parliament, and just a few days after government actually passed new laws that VAT is now 15%,
which is quite a lot.
A lot, Mauli. It's a lot.
From where it used to be to where it is now, yeah.
Today we bought a tin of milk, and
how much was it?
It was 7 cedis, 90 pesos.
That used to sell for, as far as I think 2-3 years ago, it was like 3 cedis, 50 pesos, 4 cedis, yes. Hello and welcome to another edition of BizTech on GhanaWeb TV with me, Mauli Aholimega. On this episode, I'll be interacting with my colleague on the business desk, Stella J-Jom Sogli, where we'll be interacting and finding out why prices of goods and services have not reduced despite Ghana's national inflation witnessing some decline. Stella, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. How am I? I can't really say because inflation in Ghana is a lot, but by the grace of God, I can say that I'm okay.
Yeah. So before we delve into today's segment properly, focusing on inflation, you've been on the market to find out how prices of goods and services have been faring. How are things on the market?
Well, it's not been anything different from what we were experiencing last year. If you quite remember, last year from I think March, April, inflation started rising astronomically, and we were experiencing it firsthand on the market, in shops, when everything, cement prices, water, electricity, food, transportation, so as nothing has changed. So when the Ghana Statistical Service said that our inflation has started reducing, well, it came as a source of relief somehow to maybe economists and people who are interested in the figures. But for the ordinary Ghanaian, when you go to the market, instead of things to actually maybe even be stable, prices are still increasing. So cement prices, right now, cement costs about 80 Ghana cedis, between 80 to...
even almost 100.
Yes,
at some
90
places.
Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
The last time, Nido, it was like 106, 101.
That's a 400 milligram for Nido.
Yes,
yeah.
There's the small container that cannot even last you up to 2 weeks.
Yeah, people used to purchase that around 30
like,
cedis,
exactly,
25
cedis.
Yes, it was quite, yeah.
But right now, like, even if we peg it at 25 cedis, that's more than 200% increment. The prices of the 5 kg bag of rice, it used to be like, even last year when inflation was rising, it was like 80 cedis. But today it's almost 120, 150 Ghana cedis. And so you ask yourself whether the figures are actually telling the truth or not, because things are on the market, if you ask me, things are not any better than they used to be. Very
well said. But speaking of figures, there are also some concerns that our cedi is not very stable. It appreciates and then it depreciates. So there's some instability happening to the Ghana cedi. So when you go out on, some of the traders believe that because of that instability, they are not forced to reduce the prices of goods and services. What's your take on that?
I think that really we may not be able to understand the market dynamics because a lot of the traders have different ways of trading, and some of them import their goods from different
other
places. But you realize that in December something happened. Everybody was like, hey, what's happening?
Something happened. The currency had gone down to almost 11 cedis.
Exactly, after climbing.
Yeah, with hopes of even coming down to the 10 that it used to be. Yeah.
So like 13 cedis, and it just came down sharply. Even though like people were excited about that, some of the traders were of the view that we don't think that because the cedi has appreciated by a few values in this short period of time, it has any direct benefit to us at the moment. So even though the cedi depreciated at that time, it didn't really reflect in our purchasing power, in our consumption or anything, because some of the traders think that, or they say that when the cedi was like 12, 13 cedis, they already went to buy their goods.
Yeah, so they're already stuck in
They
the
are
game
already stuck in there. And so if I go and I exchange my money at 13 cedis to $1 and I buy and I come and price that item, I don't think that when the price comes, when the CD now is selling at 11 CDs, I can
you would
do
want
anything.
to make that change on the price.
And then because that appreciation didn't last, by the time maybe I'm done selling the stock that I have, the CD has gone back to
where it used to be. Yeah.
You know.
So it's like a same ripple effect that happened.
During that time, it was just a few of them who had the opportunity. So you realize at that time people were now hoarding their dollars because you don't really know.
Yeah, why would you want to put it into the economy?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and those who were trading in dollars were also now like being fast with the trading that, hey, if right now I can get the dollar at 10, at a point it even came to 10 cedis.
Yeah.
So if I can get the dollar at 10 cedis right now, then I have to do it. So all those dynamics came into play, and so sometimes they say that is the reason they cannot reduce prices. But it's very hard. Well, me, I have not seen it happen usually or even drastically that prices have reduced, or the factors that cause the increase in prices have maybe gone back.
Witness
so
some
people
level.
will now reduce their prices. But we are expecting that, like transport operators, nobody expected them to recline on their decision and reduce the transport fares, but they did. So sometimes you can see that some of the traders try to take advantage of the situation to make more.
Speaking of taking advantage, there have been some recent uproar among members of the trading community, which is Guta, and then the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, which was very extraordinary development for him to make such a comment, sort of blaming the members of the trading community for profiteering and also taking advantage of Ghanaians. Is that the same sentiment that's out there for you from where you sit?
Well, I think that for someone in Parliament, and just a few days after government actually passed new laws that VAT is now 15%,
which is quite a lot.
A lot, Mauli. It's a lot.
From where it used to be to where it is now, yeah.
Today we bought a tin of milk. And
how much was it?
It was 7 cedis, 90 pesos.
That used to sell for, as far as, I think 2-3 years ago, it was like 3 cedis, 50 pesos, 4 cedis, yes. For that same tin of milk that you would get 2-3 years ago.
And the VAT on it is now 15%. If you take that 15%, that's almost like 1 cedi, getting to 1 cedi or like 90 pesos of that. So imagine, let's take the VAT of 90%, 90 pesos of that.
That's a lot.
And VAT is not the only tax you are paying. You are paying Get Fund, you are paying COVID-19 levy, NHIL levy, and now they've added growth and stability levy, excise, you know. So right after all those new taxes were passed, then you come and see and blame the traders. If I was a trader and VAT has increased, it means that definitely, and you know, just recently also, there was an uproar about the taxes that they pay at the port.
Yes, we'll come to that in
exactly.
our next segment. Yeah.
So if just a few days after government has decided that they are going to introduce these new taxes, which according to them were not even new in the first place, going to revise and amend them and make it more expensive, then it doesn't really sit well if he, as a deputy speaker of Parliament, comes out to say that it is the fault of the traders. If I were the traders, I would also be... You
feel some type of way about it.
Exactly, because if there's anyone not being sensitive to the plight of Ghanaians, it's definitely government, not we the traders.
Very well said, Stella. I've been speaking with Stella Sogli, and she's my colleague here on the business desk at GhanaWeb, and we've been talking about why prices of goods and services still remain high despite Ghana recording some decline in its inflation figures. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back from that break on BizTech. I've been speaking with my colleague Stella Sogli, who is on the business decks at GhanaWeb, and we've been talking about why the prices of goods and services still remain on a high, despite Ghana recording some decline in its inflation figures. Stella, we've been talking about a lot of factors as to why prices of goods still remain high. We've talked about the traders, we've talked about the trading community, we talked about even the comments made by the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Now let's come to the widely known reason for why we are experiencing what we are experiencing. Government believes that the Russia-Ukraine crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic, the effects of the pandemic, which happened 2-3 years ago, is the reason why we are where we are and why we are even seeking an IMF bailout. Are these concerns valid, and what do you make of them?
Well, I just saw a story today from last year that an economist or like a stakeholder was making the point that fertilizer shortage is not a result of the Russia-Ukraine war, but government has sold the Russia-Ukraine war to us as being a major factor. Well, we may not be able to take it in isolation and say that it has not had any impact. It has, because Ghana is very highly import dependent, and so if anything happens and it is going to affect our imports, definitely it will have a rippling effect on the prices of goods in our country, and also our increasing debt levels.
It's way high.
Exactly. We've been shut out of the international market. We are not able to get access to
loans
funds,
and facilities,
loans and grants and all of those things. So it's also have put the country in a tight position. We are not getting inflows like we should, and so everything is now expensive.
We've had to now rely on even the treasury bills.
Yes, to get money to fund their day-to-day activities. And you're hearing agitations in the media about labor, some people
job losses and scarcity,
yes,
especially in the manufacturing sector.
Exactly.
It looks like a lot of people are poised to lose their jobs because the operational costs are high. We've even had an effect, and even on our telco sector as well, they've had to roll back some of their
services because government thinks that they are too cheap, and government needs the economy to become expensive if for lack of a better word, for things to, water has been increased, electricity has been increased,
I think twice already.
Yes. And the last time that the finance minister was in the US for the spring meetings, there were concerns raised about increasing these things further.
Even in the new IMF program.
Yes, in the program to ensure that we are able to stay afloat. And so when you look at all these issues, it's a lot. And sometimes not appreciating it, or like people believe that government has not really been fair with Ghanaians, or like very open with us to tell us that we are in trouble.
Yes, this is where we are, and this is what we need to do to move.
One thing too that is like becomes a challenge is that it looks like when the 3 billion IMF bailout comes, that's going to be the end. Last year I had the opportunity to be at a press conference, and then I asked the finance minister about $3 billion US.
Is that enough?
Is that enough? Because even our interest payments alone,
it's quite a lot.
It's more than 3 billion. So if the 3 billion comes, well, people said is to balance balance of payments and
transactions,
give us more reserves. But the IMF just said that our reserves are virtually empty, and by the end of the year, so will the IMF bailout like really do something for us? Maybe that's a topic we could like delve into another time and see like how much can the IMF
going to impact on the economy.
Right. But they've been like, people have been telling governments that there are things they can do to show that we are in trouble, but those things are not happening. Like governments cutting expenditure, stop some of its lavish lifestyles, but we are not seeing any of those things from government. So it's really difficult to say that we are in a crisis.
Finally, we are almost wrapping up, and I think I want us to talk just briefly about some of the taxes that people are being that is imposed on people at the ports. And I think I'll just briefly list some of them. We have the import duty tax, about 21 taxes for just one single item. So for instance, if someone says they want to go and purchase a car for like, let's say 25,000 cedis, they would be paying close to about 80,000 cedis just to clear the goods. And let me just run through some of the taxes that are imposed at the port. We have the import duty, we have the import VAT, the processing fee, the ECOWAS levy, the network charge VAT, the network charge COVID-19 health, which is very interesting, Ghana Shippers Authority SNF fee, import NHIL, network charge NHIL, I don't know what that is, IRS tax deposit, GHS disinfection fee. Interesting. Wow. MOTI EIDF fee, I don't know what that is. Special import levy, 2%. Ghana Export Import Bank levy. Ghana Education Trust Fund import. That's very interesting. Network charge get fund levy. Inspection fee. African Union import levy. COVID-19 health recovery levy. Stella.
Wow.
I think
like you can go on and on and on.
Yes,
and
a
you
lot
know,
of taxes.
apart from this, you have to pay other taxes for processing.
And you have to now also pay even the agents that will be clearing the goods
for you.
Yeah.
And by the time the car comes down, a car that maybe you bought at maybe 25 or like 50,000,
it will go up by 3 times the price.
Yeah. And the person who buys in Ghana will now be buying this car at 150,000 Ghana cedi. Like,
it's quite a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's really a lot. So I do not know how well people have said, or like there's been an expert opinion on the fact that with the rate at which inflation is reducing, by the end of the year we may experience some decline to about 20%. And even if
this is just a projection.
This is just a projection.
You have no idea how things are going to pan out.
Exactly.
I mean, there are even concerns that if you don't reach the IMF deal by May, we're supposed to reach in March.
Yes.
There are concerns that if you don't reach it by May, our economy would suffer more
losses.
Yes.
But these projections that have been made are like kind of relieving that, okay, maybe if these things are anything to go by, then we may expect to see some decline soon. But my final thing to say is that even if these rates reduce, we are working with the figures, even if the figures reduce, are we going to see the same
on the market as well
effect on the markets? Because that's what the ordinary Ghanaian is interested in.
It's what's in their pocket.
My mom, my dad, my siblings, my friends,
they don't understand what is
care
inflation.
About inflation rates being 30% or 40%.
And the producer price inflation and all those factors.
Those things. They do not really care. What they care is when I go to the market,
how much can I buy this?
Exactly. Yeah. Am I able to buy these things? By the time maybe the IMF deal will come, things will happen. It will get better. We want it to really get better.
All right. Yeah. Stella, thank you so much. It's been a very enlightening conversation. I've been speaking with my colleague on the business desk, Stella J. Jom Sogli, and we've been talking about why prices of goods and services still remain on a high despite Ghana's national inflation recording some decline in the past 3 months for 2023. Before we go, don't forget to log on to our website, www.ghanaweb.com. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the GhanaWeb. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel, GhanaWeb TV. My name is Mauli Aholimega. Please do stay for Biz Headlines.